hello and welcome to another week on my plot. The reason I'm laughing is I've recorded this intro 4 times now, and the other 3 previous I've gone off on a rant about the current, because we're in lockdown again, and I just go off on it. So this is my 4th attempt and I'm going to resist it. So all I'm going to say is we're back in lockdown in Wales. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, welcome to the plot, my little haven, my sanctuary, as it says there in the shed. And it's a beautiful day out there. There's a bit of a brisk autumnal wind, but that's fine. It's very sunny, but the rest of the week is heavy rain forecast, so we shall see. It's Monday, unusually for me, but this is our long weekend. Because I work 4 days a week, every other weekend I get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, and we normally go away in the caravan. But because the Welsh government have locked us up again, we can't do that. So I'm up here. I had to cross the border, and I'm enjoying my afternoon on the plot. Well, what am I doing? Well, one of my subscribers who always leaves a comment, and he doesn't miss a thing, Fay Nights, mentioned that I was digging one of my beds, and he's right, I was. And I'll explain it when I'm videoing it, but I simply cannot sustain no dig. I don't have the raw materials, so that's why some beds are no dig, some beds aren't, and I'll explain it in a minute. But I'm working on that lower bed today, the one that had the pumpkins in. Other than that, it's a bit of weeding, titivating, and what John over there, my friend John, calls flitting. He does a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and he goes back to that, just because doing one thing for any long length of time can be a bit mundane. And that's what I do. You know, I'll have a go at something, and when I get bored I'll go and do something else and go back to it. And that's what I'm doing today. So I managed to avoid the rant, 4th time lucky. Welcome to my plot. Well, I think it's time for a bit more niff, naff and trivia, and we're going to go and follow a military theme. I'm sure certainly those of you in the UK have heard the phrase to pull your finger out. Well, it's associated these days with encouraging someone to get a move on or hurry up and complete a task more quickly. Like so many English phrases, it has a military or naval origin. Loaded cannons would have gunpowder poured into the small ignition hole and held in place with a wooden plug. But in times of battle, when speed was of the essence, the powder would be pushed in and then held in place by a gun crew member, using his finger. Impatient artillerymen, anxious to fire their cannons at the enemy, would shout at the crew member to pull his finger out so that the gun could be fired. It's not been recorded how many digits were lost in this way in battle. Yeah. You see, very occasionally, you see a programme on the telly where they reenact old artillery pieces and muskets and so on. And when you watch them, the people have got ear defenders and big goggles on, and the people have to stand back at a distance. We can't even imagine today, can we, what it must have been like on the gun deck of a ship of the line in the heat of battle. You know, pieces of people lying about, truly horrific, the guns going off. I know that some of the men on the gun crew that were deaf for days afterwards. Yeah, it must have been truly horrific. We have no idea. And following on from that, a flash in the pan is used to describe something or somebody making a great impression at the outset, but ultimately failing to deliver any real result. Of military origin, the phrase emerged during the use of early flintlock muskets, which is what I was just talking about, really. Sometimes gunpowder would ignite with a flash in the lock pan, but the main charge failed to light, meaning the shot in the barrel did not discharge. So no harm could come to man or beast at that time round. It was a flash in the pan, and the expression was in regular use by 1741. So pull your finger out or you'll be a flash in the pan. Well, I'd like to explain what I've done there. I've said to you previously I wanted to go no dig. The problem I've had is I simply don't have the raw material compost in a good enough condition to surface mulch, because it's still not broken down enough. So I've compromised. What I've done is I've taken the compost, it's all from my compost bin at home, which is not even a third of the way through decomposing. And I've dug trenches, as you saw, I've infilled it with the compost and I've raked it back over. And I'm afraid that's the best I can do. No dig is an aspiration, but I just simply can't manage it on all the beds. So now I'm going to plant my onion sets into that. Where I can, I am doing the no dig. So I've got 5 beds that I have surface mulched like this one with my leaf mould, and again it's not the most crumbly textured stuff, but it's been in there a year and it's as good as it's going to get in that time frame. So I've surface dressed with a good thick mulch on 5 beds, and they are no dig. So where I can I will, but where I can't I just have to compromise, and that's life. Well, that's today's main effort. That bed has been, it's had organic matter added underneath, raked over, tidied up, and then white and red onion sets planted. Let's just see how they fare in that soil. So, a brief wander down the plot. That New Zealand spinach has fallen out, or has grown out of its raised bed and is now wandering across the paths. I expect the frost will kill it, but I don't know. These spring onions are monsters. And now to the main allotment. There's the cabbages I'm still harvesting. Oh, and those next to that bed are the gooseberry plants Bridget's given me very kindly. But yeah, most of the beds now look neat, tidy. There's the leek bed that's a wash with the weeds, but I'm not going to worry about it. I guess about half of the beds now are put to bed. There's John working over on his plot as always. Brussels sprouts are huge. I've never seen Brussels sprouts that big. Saving those runner beans for seeds. All the compost bins have got something on the go. And then there's the bed you saw earlier, where it's got the onions in now. And I've still got this one to sort, and the rhubarb to salt. That's a good point, that needs salting and mulching. So, I'm very happy that it's looking well kept, and I'm well ahead of my game, ready for next year. Well, it's later in the afternoon. I shall call that a day now. When we're getting a new compost bin by a company called Aerobin. And when it comes, it will come later in the week hopefully, so it may be here in time for my next video. We shall see. I shall do a review of it. I shall show you it as I assemble it, and then I'll leave it a few months. It says that it turns stuff into compost in, well, I think it's 3 weeks, 3 months, 12 weeks. So we shall see, and I'll report back and let you know how I get on with it. So at the moment I've switched emphasis to the garden. The garden's getting a bit ragged with the high winds we're having with all the dahlia plants. So I haven't been up here much, but luckily you don't need a lot of time up here, and the few hours I've managed today I'm grateful for. It's always nice to see John and have a chat, put the world to rights. Bridget's just given me 3 new gooseberry plants from her plot, so I've got to dig them in now before they dry out. So yeah, I've had a nice few hours up here, a couple of cups of tea or coffee, and I shall be up probably again tomorrow. I've got to empty all the stuff you've seen me using on the plot is coming from the compost bin at home, and I've got to empty it to dismantle it because it's all rotten and falling apart, ready for the aero bin to go in. So I'm going to do a bit more of that tomorrow till it's empty, and then I've got to re-gravel the floor and landscape it all neat and tidy. Anyway, that's what I've got to do. Thank you for watching. Look after yourselves this week, and all being well, I shall see you next weekend. Bye for now.